Welcome to, I guess, my first episode podcast of James Vang. First episode, I'm just going to call it the biography of the Hmong race. And the reason why I'm calling it that is mainly just because Hmong people, again, I know I say this a lot if you follow me, but, we're very unknown to the world. And I think right now is like a very good time for us to educate people about certain cultures and things like that so people don't get confused. And just to kind of clarify some of the, problems that maybe me or other Asian people kind of face. And if that's something that you want to hear, continue to follow this podcast or, my journey. And I'm just going to talk to you all about it on how it affects me as a lifter, as a dancer, as a person. And we can kind of go on from that. But mainly, I just want to educate people and tell people that Hmong people are different from Chinese people, even though we are Asians. And I just kind of want to clarify this for people that not all Asians are the same, and not all Asians are Hmong or Chinese or Japanese, but all of those are Asians, or people from Asia, just like how French and Germans are from Europe, right? They are Europeans, but they are French and Germany respectively. Hmong people are the same. Hmong people and Chinese people are from Asia, so we're Asians. So technically, if you want to think about it, Russians can also be considered Asians, if that makes sense. But generally, I just want to say that Hmong people were pretty new, I guess, to the world because we were originally mountainous people, before 1955. 1955 is kind of like the start of the Vietnam War, where a lot of Hmong people were recruited as CIA agents to support the war. And 20 years later, the war ended. With the USA losing, and when the USA left, a lot of the Hmong soldiers who ended up helping the Americans during the war were getting genocide, or we were getting killed off because we were helping out another government fight against that current government. So with that said, a lot of us were getting killed off, and you can say that my family or my roots were some of the random lucky people that were able to come to America, and that makes me the first generation of Hmong people coming into America if you consider first generation born in America. See, some people consider my parents first generation Hmong people even though they weren't born in America. So however you want to take that, just know that all I know is the USA culture embedded with the morals, values, culturistic stuff that was passed on by my people, my grandparents, my parents, from what they know of the current culture, the best that they could. Now, with that said, I just want to let people know that I'm not Chinese. Chinese is people from China. Now, Hmong people can also be from China, but we're like our own ethnicity. Pretty much saying like, if Chinese people spoke Chinese, I wouldn't understand what they're saying, and vice versa, unless they know the language. Now, the reason why I'm educating people is just so, again, if you follow lifting at all, or if you're into breakdancing, or if you're into community work, good chances you probably seen me. And if you've seen me, good chance you probably played my favorite game that I like to play with people, guess what kind of Asian I am. And most of the time, nobody ever guess Hmong. And now I'm educating you so people won't get it mixed up, and people can be less discriminative when they speak with people, because I kind of dislike it that COVID is kind of going on right now, and it's a virus that came from China, and Donald Trump kind of blew that up a little bit, and then now all Asian people are being targeted as Chinese. And even if we were USA raised, or even if we aren't even Chinese, people want to give us a problem anyways. And that's been very hard generally, because that kind of makes me not want to go anywhere, like when you're an Asian person and you got to watch your back from everybody, everybody. So pretty much black people gonna look at you wrong because you're Asian, even though you're not Chinese or you wasn't the reason why the virus is here in the first place. They're just gonna look at you and say, I hate you because you remind me of the people that I hate and you brought the virus over here. So now as Asian people, technically everywhere we go, we gotta watch our back, we gotta double take, we gotta go in groups. And you can say like that's very negative, you know what I mean? A lot of Asian people right now are going through very stressful times, especially people losing jobs, you know what I mean? And what can we do? And that's kind of what we all are going through currently, you know. And if you're not like an individual who works out or looks fit, you know, if you're like an old granny, if you're young kids, or if you're like a woman who just got off work, you know, there's a good chance like you should be afraid, because a lot of the Asian people who are getting picked on or getting hurt tends to be older, younger, or female people. It's never someone who is between the ages of 16 and 80 or whatever, you know, getting picked on, getting beat up and stuff like that, mainly because people are afraid of us. You know, people are afraid of the men, even though we're pretty nice people generally. And I just want to let people know, like, you know, if you don't know what it's like being Asian in the country right now, then that's kind of one of the reasons why a lot of Asian people are on edge. You know what I mean? All these racist things coming out. I mean, literally, you have Hispanic people calling out Asian people to go back to your country. Now, I don't know about you, but the only reason why a Hispanic person will ever say to an Asian person that you don't belong here, you don't speak the same language we speak, and you need to go back to your country is because they heard that from somebody else. And that, so pretty much all I'm trying to say is we're literally teaching ourselves how to be racist, and we don't realize it. And I feel like the best way to combat racism or just being discriminative or being scared of other people is just educating them, so you kind of understand who we are and what we go through and why maybe some of the looting and rioting actually happened in the first place. You know, it could be, again, a government conspiracy or whatever, but the real problem is the looting and rioting is happening and being done, and there's a lot of different kinds of people who are being very hurt right now who aren't being heard, you know. And right now during this time, I just feel like education is going to be a very big piece in solving the big issues surrounding all of the things involving COVID and all the stuff going on in the country right now. And this is specifically for my Hmong people if you've gotten this far to the video, but I just want to say that just because a lot of Asian people are getting a lot of shit from black people and from the police and stuff like that, especially since Officer 2 was involved with the the kneeling of George Floyd, and now all Asian people are getting flack from that. All I really want to say to us is, you know, just because people do bad things to us doesn't mean we have to change and stoop to their level. So for all the Hmong people who got an issue with other Hmong people helping out with the Black Lives Matter, or all the Hmong people who want to stand up for cops, because again, I do know a lot of Hmong people who are cops, and I also do know a lot of black people who come and help out the Asian communities and all that stuff too, you know. So there are good people in the black community and in the Hmong community in terms of helping each other out, and it shouldn't have to be what the fuck has those people ever done for us. Well, you know, if we're always gonna go by what other people has done for us, then we might as well just fucking never do anything for anybody and just be a selfish person and just stay in your home. But me, as an individual who understands what it's like to be discriminated against and to feel unwelcome wherever they go, you know, I want to make sure that black people get the respect that they deserve, because they've been doing the Black Lives Matter for as long as technically we can remember. You know, if you want to go back to the slave days, if you want to go back to the first time they got their newspaper, especially in Atlanta, you know, back in the 1900s, just to have a voice, you know what I mean? And they've been kept silent for so long, even though the Emancipation Proclamation or whatever, you know, back in 1865, even though that supposedly abolished slavery, you know, slavery is not just something that you can just abolish. You know, this is generations of hatred and, you know, people looking down on other people, and this is something very deep, and I feel like when Hmong people who feels like, an Asian person just got their ass whooped, like that Hmong grandma that got her ass whooped by 3 black teenagers, and a lot of people like to use that, as an excuse for why we shouldn't help out black people who are suffering. But, a win for Black Lives Matters is a win for all minorities, and a win for all minorities is the reason why the United States is amazing as it is. So generally, the first episode is just a little history on Hmong people and kind of my point of view on all the things that are currently going on right now for Asians and whatever.